Hey everybody, Derek here to bring another video for Z Nation. And what this video is going to be doing is doing my review for Z Nation's latest episode, which was Party with the Zeros. I'm going to give you my impressions of it, let you guys know what happened, and what it may mean for the rest of the season. If you have not watched this episode and you do not want to be spoiled, then turn off the video now and come back later because otherwise you will be spoiled. Okay. So, watching the episode, I have to say that that was probably one of the best episodes of the entire series. Honestly, they really did a lot of revealing very shocking plot revelations about Vasquez, about the Cure, about the Zeros, just a lot of things that really were entertaining about this episode and very shocking. So I have to say they really hit a home run on this one, honestly. Left us with a big cliffhanger, but you know what? That's the fun of it, and we're going to come back next week anxious to see how it concludes. So the episode begins with the group, basically on the border between Mexico and the United States. They're fighting through a big group of zombies. We saw a drone flying around that was batted out of the air by a zombie. And, we see the group just fighting to get through this large group of zombies. I mean, it was really a very beginning action-packed episode with just a lot of zombie killing. The group ends up getting, cornered, and Murphy tries to use his telepath, skills to, get the zombies to stop attacking them, but for some reason it doesn't work. Either there are too many zombies, or maybe this power of Murphy's may not be as strong as it once was. It's hard to say. But the group surprisingly gets saved by the Zeros. Scorpion basically comes out from this, it was a door on the floor, and it just comes up, and he says, hey, you guys better get in here or else you're going to die. So the group, decides to go to safety, and the Zeros help them get to safety. And, as Scorpion realizes that who it is, it's Warren and the group, and Murphy is there. And of course, Scorpion's never actually really verified that this was Murphy or that this was Murphy's group. So, he has Murphy show him the bites, and of course he realizes who, Murphy is, and he decides to take the group to Lorena, who is the leader of the Zeros. It is a woman. It is somebody who's nicknamed the Queen, so hence she would be the one that is in charge. And, they get introduced to the Queen, and, she's a very extravagant person, but yet powerful. She wears, very fancy clothing. She has like these beads on her face that some cultures use for decoration. She really did look very royal in a sense. She did look like somebody who did have authority, did have a presence among individuals. And I really liked her character, even though it may be a little bit of a villain type of character. I like what she represented, and she's definitely a very strong individual, and it's very clear why she is the leader of this group. But, she congratulates, Warren for bringing Murphy to her. The fact that Warren's group was able to do this, especially, Warren, leading this group, she remarks on the fact that, she sent dozens of men out there to get the job done, and none of them came back, and yet Warren was able to do this. I really like how Z Nation really does a great job of putting their female characters in very important positions on the show, and have really made them the leaders of the show, which is something that is very nice to see. It's a different change from having something like Rick Grimes on The Walking Dead being leader, being a man, seeing women being in control, and seeing how the group dynamic is, different, but yet still strong, still, able to push through. It's definitely a nice change, and it is nice to see a little bit of a difference there on Z Nation. But the group gets to know each other. Lorena has basically been building this extravagant, community with the Zeros. The Zeros have really flourished as a result of the zombie apocalypse, where most of the world is really, in ruins and people are dying, struggling. The Zeros have really benefited from it. We've seen that they have a mass quantity of weapons, soldiers, people who are willing to fight. Their location, their base in Mexico is just absolutely beautiful. I don't know if it was necessarily built among some ruins or what it was, but it was just a very, it seemed like a royal type place. They were using zombies as compost for energy, which insulted Murphy a little. Excuse me, insulted Murphy a little bit, which I can completely understand. Um, and she introduces them around the community, really states she really has this big fascination with Murphy because Murphy is in a sense the savior of the apocalypse, if you will. And she really treats him like a saint, somebody who would be held to a very high power. She just thanks him for being that person who is carrying the cure, but does make some references that Murphy might be, sacrificed. That basically, there may be this chance that Murphy might be killed, while trying to, give this cure, but Murphy's not really up for that. She kind of glosses over that, and, Warren basically says, well, no, you don't hurt this guy. I mean, I gave him my word and I'm going to keep it. So we realize that Dr. Kurian is, of course, with them. He is still alive. When we last saw him at Batch 47, he had been working with, some people about the Z-Weed and stuff, but now he's, caught by the Zeros and taken back. And it turns out that he had really been working for them the entire time. He had taken the supplies and had gone to Colorado and basically had established himself there. So it's clear that he's been working for the Zeros ever since the start of this. He wasn't on his own or anything. And nobody's really happy to see him. And Warren, in a sense, wishes that she could exact her revenge. And Lorena plays with that a little bit. She says, well, why don't you kill him? And she says, well, because I don't have my gun. And, Lorena finds that to be pretty humorous. She goes, well, yeah, I'd exact my revenge on him too, but hey, I can understand why you're feeling that way. And Warren goes, well, the fact of the matter is this man may be the last person on earth who can create a cure. And, sometimes you have to, let people like that continue to live in order to, be things for the greater good. It's kind of like how 10,000, in the last episode, he expressed feelings of wanting to kill Murphy over what he did to Cassandra, but yet he says, well, I have to wait until this cure gets established. Once, the cure gets, established and created and everybody can start to get their vaccine, well, then Murphy and I have some unfinished business. So you see this really, this trust that has to be built among people if they really want the cure to be created. And Murphy stays behind so that, Dr. Kurian can talk to him. And Murphy, says, well, can you really make the cure? And Kurian says, well, not exactly. And, Murphy's like, well, why should I even keep you alive if you can't do this? And Kurian kind of says, well, I can create something, and that it would even be better, than what a cure might be able to bring. So it's almost like a substitute. So Kurian, and we've always known that Kurian's had this ulterior motive, I think, in regards to what he wants to do. And I really have to wonder if that's for Lorena's purposes or if that's for his own. But I think in a sense, what he's creating is not necessarily a cure that would allow individuals to return back to their normal everyday lives. If you got injected with this, it wouldn't necessarily make you a regular person. And Murphy, gives some of his blood to Kurian to do some experiments, and they actually take a Zero in this episode, and they inject him with what Kurian refers to as the cure, and basically it almost does what happened in Batch 47. When they thought that had the cure, and they blew it in the doctor's face, and it kind of turned him into a zombie, but not necessarily a full zombie like the others would be. Kurian basically injects this Zero with the serum that he has, and he goes, well, we have to wait for the incubation period, and it happened relatively quickly. And he does actually, the zombie tries to get up and attack Murphy. It tries to, but Murphy is able to control this one perfectly, like with very little effort. He's able to, make the zombie mimic his moves, and Kurian basically is like, yeah, you can do that because you want it to. That's exactly the point. And Murphy was kind of playing a little, mimicking with it, and making it do all kinds of moves. But of course, the zombie ended up like falling over and twitching a little bit. And Kurian goes, well, it's not perfect. I still have a couple more bugs to work out, but when I do, we might have something here. So, it's definitely very interesting to see what the zombie virus and what the cure might do to different individuals. And I'm going to try to do a video later on trying to analyze the different possibilities here. But the other things that are going on in this episode are, Lorena offers Warren and the group to stay as Zeros if they want, or they can take a bounty. And Vasquez advises them to take the membership because nobody really walks away from the Zeros with a good deal. Like he thinks that they would betray and kill them. So Warren says, yeah, okay, we'll join you. And they end up being put to this test of, they're thrown in this cage in a sense, and zombies are let in, and whoever the last person is to survive would be the one that would join the Zeros. And while this is going on, Scorpion says the words, I'm going to do you a favor, which triggers a memory from Vasquez, and we get to see, that a Scorpion is not wearing long sleeves, and we see that he has a tattoo on his arm, and Vasquez has the flashback to when his wife and daughter were murdered, and it turns out that it was a Scorpion, like many of us thought it was a Scorpion that did it. And the group is able to survive the test because they turn the lights out and everybody's fighting the zombies, but they work together. They're a fighting unit. And the Zeros decide, well, you've all earned your chance. All right, we'll make an exception here. Of course, because it's all the main characters. So what else are you going to do? So once they win the battle, they end up getting pampered. And it was actually a pretty interesting scene. Doc actually gets these curly things put in his beard. Everybody gets a massage, a makeover, new clothing. It was a pretty good sight. And, everybody's looking better, and they go out. And Lorena is throwing a party for everybody, especially because Murphy is here. So she's throwing an extravagant party. And they get to see a little bit about how the Zeros interact. And it's a pretty reckless scene. We actually see a time when they were hitting a zombie that was full of cocaine as a piñata, and then they were doing entertainment, and they brought out one of those, I think it's a ventriloquist, is the person who uses like a dummy to talk in a sense, and a Scorpion shot the guy and was like, no, we don't want that kind of entertainment, we want something better. And Vasquez, of course, wants to exact his revenge on a Scorpion for killing his wife and daughter. And Warren tells him no, that they need to think about the mission, that they need to think about their plan to get out, they need to think about what they're going to do, and when they come up with a plan, then Vasquez can exact his revenge. Well, Vasquez doesn't listen, and he tries to shoot a Scorpion. And when he does this, Warren actually stops him from doing it. She grabs the gun and it goes off. And, Vasquez is, of course, taken away because everybody else thinks that he actually tried to shoot Lorena, not Escorpion. People actually thought that he was trying to assassinate Lorena. So they end up taking Vasquez back to this room, and Escorpion actually tortures him, basically asking him, why did you try to kill Lorena? And he doesn't, divulge any information to Escorpion. So Escorpion has no idea, who Vasquez is. He doesn't remember. Otherwise, I think he would have said something. And it seems that, he references, Escorpion does, these other groups of individuals who, and he asks, well, who sent you? Was it the U.S. government? Well, I doubt that, and he says, was it Russia? Was it China? Was it the rich people on Zona? So Zona is actually a real place. If you remember back in Roswell, they referred to this place called Zona. It turns out it does potentially exist. And we may see that in a future episode. But, he doesn't divulge anything. He refuses to talk. So Escorpion has no idea, and apparently, again, Escorpion does not remember who Vasquez is, because otherwise I think he would have said something. Well, at the end of the party, Kurian basically summons Escorpion to the rest of the group, and he informs them that he has a cure. He calls it the H1Z1 cure, and he tells Lorena that it's going to work, and he's ready to test it on human subjects. So, they say, well, who's going to be first? Well, since Vasquez tried to kill Lorena, the group basically offers him up as the first person to be tested with it. So, just as they're about to inject the needle into him, the episode cuts, and it's a to be continued in Spanish, was on the screen. So we have no idea what's going to happen, whether, Vasquez is going to be injected or not. And of course, is this really a cure? Is this something that Kurian says it is? Or does he have some ulterior motives, because the group wants to escape, and part of me wonders if Kurian might have the same idea. So maybe there might be some conspiracy, this might be their escape attempt, and maybe it won't be. We'll have to wait till next week to find out. I'm going to bring this video to a close. I want to thank all of you guys for watching. If you have any questions or comments, don't be afraid to leave them. Feel free to subscribe. I do have more videos coming. If you have any suggestions for future videos that you would like to see, don't be afraid to suggest them. Have a wonderful evening, and thank you very much for watching.